The dawning of a new era in CSB sports.
We're so awesome that even our school wants us. You got to come on here. AllNoiseRadio.com, baby. We need your support. We appreciate your support. Look forward to our show every week.
With our new lunchtime spot, 12 to 1, bringing you a wide variety of topics in the world of sports.
Hockey, basketball, baseball, football. Get ready.
We work hard. We love sports.
The knowledge.
I just want to make you look bad, Ruggs, because you always make me look bad with your sports intellect.
The passion.
Hey, Jimmy, you're going to be the best-looking guy in the unemployment line, buddy. What a disgrace.
It's the Zuki and Ruggs Show on All Noise Radio.
From the CSB studios in Stratford, Connecticut, it's the Zuki and Ruggs Show on All Noise Radio, bringing you a wide variety of topics in the world of sports. I'm your host, Ruggs, and normally I'd be along with my partner, Zuki, but he is on location in fabulous Las Vegas, enjoying the warm weather out there, covering some sporting events for us. So this is going to be a solo act tonight. We're going to break down. I'm taping this on a Monday evening to get you caught up on all the championship week action, men and women's. Tournaments going on in full force right now, and they'll only ramp it up as the major conferences start later on in the week. So I'm going to preview those for you and give you my predictions on who I think is going to come through and talk a little bit about teams that are sweating it out a little bit on the bubble, whether or not they're going to get into the NCAA tournament. Now, I'm just going to go through conference by conference and just get right into it. Later on, we'll may have a surprise special mystery guest via the All Noise Radio hotline and have a little interview on location segment with with our mystery guest, and I'll do that after our break. But we're going to get right into it and dive right into championship week, one of the most exciting sports weeks of the year. As much as they've tried to kill college basketball with NCAA's just absolute terribly running of the sport, totally football biased sports landscape in college athletics, it really still, to me anyway, is one of the best weeks of the year, coming into one of the best months of the year sports-wise with the NCAA tournament and March Madness. Locally, the interest is, of course, with the University of Connecticut, and that's just alphabetically. I'll go right through conference tournaments. I'm going to cover mainly the major conferences. A lot of the mid-majors have already played, or are in the midst of their tournaments now. They're already in the semifinals or finals. But we'll start with the American Conference, which is, say what you want about it. It's kind of a bastard league. Let's be honest with you. You got, it's basically the remnants of what was Conference USA, and now Conference USA is even more down in the mid-major ranks. But, there's a lot of good basketball teams in this brand new league. And started off, basically, you got 5 teams locked into the NCAA tournament, and then everybody else has to pull a miracle, win this whole thing to get in. UConn's got a real tough draw, and they did it to themselves because they couldn't take care of their own business Saturday, and they got trounced by Louisville. Pathetic performance, 81-48 loss down at Louisville, down at the KFC Yum Center there on Louisville's campus. It was an embarrassing game, and now they draw the home team. They draw Memphis in the 4-5 game. They may have caught a little bit of a break with having Cincy win that coin flip and be the top seed and Louisville drop down to the bottom of the bracket. If they're ever able to get by Memphis, which I don't think they will, but if they did beat them in the regular season down there, but I don't think this is going to go well for them at all. If they are able to knock Memphis off, though, I think Cincy's a much better matchup for them than Louisville. Obviously, they just got shellacked by them. To me, it's a seeding thing. I don't think UConn's playing great basketball right now is the more concerning thing. Whether or not they win this tournament, they're in the big dance. They obviously are going to have their seeding vastly affected by the outcome of what happens here. I think they're one and done. Memphis, they play them in the late game. They got to wait around all day, play at 9:30 at night before they tip this game. Playing the home team in their home gym, I think it's going to be a real tall order for them to get it. So I like Memphis, and I actually think Memphis will take Cincinnati out in the semifinal. I think they'll ride the home cook into the finals. I think it's going to come down to Louisville versus Memphis. I think SMU will get rid of Houston. They're going to go to the tournament. They're a tough team. They'll play respectively against Louisville, but I think Louisville beats them and then takes care of Memphis in what should be a pretty good championship game Saturday down in Memphis. So I'm going to take Louisville in that one. If you're keeping score, there's Louisville to win the American. Next, we'll go to the ACC, which is basically two conferences wedged together. It's the people that took off and jettisoned from the Big East when the Big East was a great basketball conference at one time, and then you got what was originally the Big East, and you have basically a hodgepodge of football schools trying to play basketball and great basketball schools that are going to try to survive in a football environment. You got a lot of intriguing matchups. I can't take that away from them. When you have a team, Notre Dame and South Bend, Indiana, playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference, it's a little ridiculous. I'm not going to mince words about that. I think it's just ridiculous the way this whole thing is shaken out. The basketball fans of the world may, at least for this tournament, get a good bonus. You got top seed Virginia, which is a big story, big surprise. They're playing for a top overall seed and certainly a number one seed in the tournament if they can get through and win this whole tournament. It's going to be a tall order, though. Some bubble teams in this tournament for sure. In the 8-9 game, you got Maryland and Florida State, and I think Florida State is a big-time bubble team. I think if they don't beat Maryland, and I don't think they will, I think they're gonna find themselves in the NIT. That should set up a rematch of Virginia-Maryland that just was played down in Maryland, and Maryland won it in overtime. I think Virginia, that's a good thing for them. I think they'll be fired up for this game. They'll get their revenge, and they'll advance to the semis. Wake and Notre Dame, just two awful teams, will play it out. I think Wake will survive, and they'll get to the second round and play Pitt. It's still not even in the quarterfinals yet. And I think Pitt, who is another bubble team, they need to make some noise in this tournament to ensure that they're in. They might be in anyway, but it's going to be close. I like them to bounce Wake Forest and get to play North Carolina, and then I think they'll give North Carolina a tough game. They're a tough team to play against. Jamie Dixon coaches defense real well. They're always tough on the glass. They make your style. They play ugly. They win ugly. But I like Carolina, especially down in Greensboro. They're going to be, they're going to have three quarters of that building rooting for them. And I actually like them to not only beat Pitt, but then when they play Virginia in that first semifinal Saturday, I like them to win that one as well in a real good ball game. But I think they'll win. Down at the bottom of the bracket, you got a real curious Syracuse team right now that's sputtering. I actually like their prospects in the NCAA tournament better than to win this one. But I think, sitting at the 2 seed, they're going to wait around for, 2 days because in the 10-15 matchup, you got Miami and Virginia Tech. And basically, I think they're just lining up to go down to 7 seed at NC State, which is a real interesting team here. They're kind of on the outside looking in, but they always they make it interesting in this ACC tournament. They have a lot of crowd support down there, and they can make runs. And I think they'll if I'm going to take an upset here, it's going to be them to knock Syracuse out and just let Jim Boeheim. Boeheim's he's always been kind of a guy who does not mind losing in the conference tournaments and getting a little rest to go into the NCAA tournament. Sometimes he feels like his teams come out better when they don't play the whole tournament and have to expend that energy. But I'm sure in this inaugural year of their team being in the ACC with all these heavyweights, Duke and North Carolina and all that, they're going to want to win this thing. So they'll be fired up for it. And they did have a nice win at Florida State, kind of trounced them when, to kind of right the ship a little bit. I'm going to take NC State in the upset here. I think NC State still wouldn't be in the tournament unless they at least got to the finals and maybe won the whole thing. That's going to be tough. You got Duke sitting at the 3 seed. Georgia Tech, they're the one dangerous team that's going to have to play that first day. Out of all 6 teams that play that first day, you got really kind of basically 5 garbage teams in Georgia Tech. But it won't be easy to beat Boston College because they always, for some reason, come down to Greensboro and show up. But Georgia Tech is one of the hotter teams going right now for a team that's not really good. Hasn't been good all year, but they're catching a little bit of fire. I see them downing Boston College. I actually like them to beat Clemson in that 6-11 game, and I think they'll get all the way to the quarters and play Duke. That's when they'll come back down to reality. I think Duke will survive a scare. It'll be Georgia Tech's 3rd game and Duke's 1st, which sometimes is hard to deal with the momentum, but they might start to get tired in that second half, and I think Duke will pull away. I'll take Duke against NC State. Again, that should be another war, a bloodbath down there, Raleigh against Durham, just couple of miles separating. And then I think it'll be the Duke-Carolina final. I didn't look at this ahead of time. It usually doesn't pan out where it's Duke and Carolina in the championship. I'm going to pick it that way, and I'm going to go with Duke to win this conference tournament. I just think they're the class of the league. Once you get by Syracuse, I'm not high on Virginia. I think They've had a great year. I don't like their NCAA tournament prospects. I think they're primed for an upset and to get bounced kind of early. I think Duke and Syracuse are going to be set up to make runs deep into the NCAA tournament, especially Syracuse. And North Carolina, they're kind of the wild card. They could do real well. They could be one and done. It's kind of hard to get a read on them. They certainly have the talent to go a long way. And now we're going to get into a conference that, if you ask me, I was very high on about 5-6 years ago on saying this conference, I should say, is a mid-major. Yeah, I just don't think they're a major conference. And, man, they have proven me wrong because they've got steadily better each year. And up until last year when they were one of the better conferences, and they performed as well as any conference going in, especially on the first few rounds before you get to the Final Four, and that's the Atlantic 10. Atlantic 10 is just up and coming. They got a lot of good teams. This year they're a little down from what they were last year because they don't have the improbable year LaSalle had and some of these other teams, but they got a few locks for the tournament, and they got a couple of teams that are on the bubble. They could send some teams. They could send as many as 6 or 7 teams to the NCAA tournament if things break right. I'm going to say they could send as many as 6 teams. I'm looking at it now. I think 6 teams is probably their cap. Top seed St. Louis, very good team. This is a team that could end up in the Final Four. It could end up losing its first game. Very good defensive team. Their consistency kind of comes and goes, though, on the offensive end, and that worries you in the team that plays a lot of close games. You like teams that defend well, but teams that have sometimes don't always have that steady option, that number one scorer. They worry a little come tournament time. But they're the number one seed. I like them to get by whoever survives the St. Bonaventure LaSalle 8-9 game, which I think will be LaSalle for what it's worth, but I think St. Louis gets through that game. You got an interesting game coming up. George Mason and Fordham will really the 2 worst teams in the league play, but the winner is going to play Dayton. I like Dayton in that game, and that sets up quarterfinal action, 2 bubble teams, 4-5 game. You got St. Joe's and Dayton. Again, it's not a sexy matchup. People are listening to this like, who cares about St. Joe's and Dayton? Very good game with 2 teams that probably need to win to sleep well going into Sunday. The loser of this game is going to be the team that's going to sweat it out all weekend and have to watch every other tournament and every other team and really scoreboard watch. The winner is going to feel pretty good that they're in. That team that wins that 4-5 game, I like them to give St. Louis a real tough game. I'm going to still take St. Louis. They're playing it at the Barclays Center. Very good atmosphere. It should be for a conference tournament. I like you looking to see what teams might draw some fans. That St. Joe's team coming out of Philly, they could really load that place if ramp it up for this tournament. I could see that. And down at the bottom of the bracket, you got some real good teams going at it. You're going to have VCU under Shaka Smart. They're the number 2 seed. A lot of people like them to win this conference tournament. I'm certainly high on them. I think, though, that they're an NCAA tournament tested team. I don't know if I like them to win this tournament, but I like them to do some damage in the big one. But you got Richmond and Duquesne going at it in the 7-10 game. 2 teams that have struggled this year. We'll be honest, they've struggled this year, but I don't think either one is going to beat VCU. But Richmond VCU would be a very interesting matchup. That's 2 Virginia schools that are very close in proximity, and it would be a pretty interesting rivalry matchup. I like VCU to get out of that one. And then at the bottom of the bracket, a team that's real flying under the radar. They're real dangerous. They played a great schedule this year. They're tough as nails. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament no matter what happens, but that's UMass, and they're playing URI, which I think is a hated rival there. Obviously New England schools battling. You got them in the 6-11 game. I think UMass wins that one, but URI is going to fight them. Guaranteed they're going to show up for the game. They're not going to want to let UMass roll them. But I think UMass will get through, and they'll play the 3rd seed George Washington, another team that's going to make the NCAA tournament. But they're kind of a curious team. Not a lot of people know much about George Washington. They got some good guard play. They can defend you. They can extend full court. I think UMass still takes them. I really do. I think they're one of the teams that it wouldn't shock me if they won this whole thing. It really wouldn't. But I'm going to take them to get all the way to the semis and play VCU. I think VCU will win a real tight, good game, and that's one of the toughest games for me to pick would be that one. Then obviously setting it up for, I'm going to take St. Louis to win the whole thing, but obviously VCU, very good team as well. Both teams are going to be seated highly in the big dance, and it's not going to matter much for that. Obviously, both teams are going to want to win that conference tournament, raise the trophy down there in Brooklyn. So should be a real interesting and exciting tournament there in the Atlantic 10. It's really taken off and become a much better tournament than it had been in years past. Obviously, by getting the Barclays Center, you can see that it's getting that respect. They feel they can fill this building to play these games there. They don't have to play it. They were playing at Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, and before that, it was even played at the Palestra for a while, a very small place. A lot of great atmosphere there because of that. But now they're getting in to be able to play these tournaments into these bigger places, and even some of the other mid-majors are doing the same thing. It shows that people are turning out for these college games, and that's good to see. It really is. All right, the next tournament we're going to talk about is the Big 12 tournament, and that features top-seeded Kansas. A lot of people feel that they're a number one seed. I think they may have to win this thing to lock that down, though. There's a lot of teams that are vying for those positions, so it's no easy thing. The Big 12, all I need to say about the state of college basketball is the Big 12 has 10 teams in the conference tournament, and the Big 10 has 12 teams in their conference tournament. So you just figure that out. If that doesn't say volumes about what needs to be done with college athletics as a whole, but particularly college basketball, which gets really just dumped on by college football, as do all the other sports by college football. And I'm a big college football fan. I'm not knocking college football, but you have to govern each sport individually and treat them differently. You can't let everybody just have to roll with what college football does. It's just not fair to the athletes and the fans of the programs and just everybody involved. It's really just kind of a raw deal. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I'll get back to this tournament. You got, out of the 10 teams in this field, you got 8 teams that are pretty solid locks to get into the field. That's impressive. That really speaks highly of the conference this year. If you want to say which conference kind of won, usually it's been the Big East in past years before it got chopped up. Now it seems like the Big 12's taken over as the top conference maybe in the nation as far as overall top to bottom toughness. So you got the 1 seed Kansas. They'll wait for the 8-9 game winner between Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Texas Tech's one of the 2 teams, them and TCU, that probably have to win. Well, they do. They have to win the whole thing. So I think Oklahoma State gets by them, and would not shock me 1 ounce if Oklahoma State knocked Kansas off as the 8 seed beating the 1. They're tough. Actually, looking at it now, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to put Okie State past Kansas. I've never been a big, huge Bill Self fan. I think Kansas, if they're going to do anything, they got a great player in Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is just an unbelievable player, up for Player of the Year. I think he'll show up for the NCAA tournament, but I think they're one and done here. I really do. I think they're going to, they'll sleepwalk through this game. They play it early. I think Okie State knocks them out. Iowa State, Kansas State's an interesting matchup. You got 2 teams that really control tempo in a 4-5 matchup. I'm leaning Kansas State here. I think it'll be a real tight ball game, but I'm going to take Kansas State. Texas and West Virginia. Now, West Virginia's kind of the oddball. They're like the stepsister invited to the party here. They're really a Big East team that came originally out of the Atlantic 10, and now they're just looking for a home, and they've wound up in the Big 12 because of football. And, that's kind of the theme of these things. And they're going to play the 3rd seed Texas. I like this one to be real tough. You got 2 former Big East coaches with Huggins going at it with Barnes. I'm going to take West Virginia here. I think, Huggins almost has a little bit of an edge going into this tournament without really having these teams face him in this. He's a tough tournament coach. He always has been. I like the way he gets his team ready for a short season. That the tournament now, it's a short season. Doesn't matter what you do over a long stretch anymore. It's being able to come off the bus the next day and be ready to go just like you were the day before. That's not an easy thing to do. Not everybody masters it. I think West Virginia here. I think they can get on a roll and maybe take this whole thing. The team I actually like the way they're playing the best right now is the 2 seed, and that's Oklahoma. I think Baylor will dispatch TCU, who's pretty awful. They were 0-19, so that tells you all that you need to know about them. It's nice. That's the one thing you love about March Madness. TCU 0-19 in the conference, really kind of a laughing stock. But if they ever caught fire for whatever reason and ran this thing, they'd be dancing. So it gives a second life to everybody. Championship week does. Any conference that allows all their team members to be a part of it, which I feel that all conferences should. There's no reason to hold anybody out. I know sometimes logistically they have to hold the bottom team or 2 teams out to be able to fit all the games in, depending on where they're being played. I don't think it'll matter much, though. I think Baylor will throttle them, and Baylor's another team that I feel is going to be in the tournament no matter what happens. It wouldn't help them to lose to TCU, though. I can definitely say that. They need to at least come out and perform and show up, and they'll march on. But I like Oklahoma in that 2-7 matchup to get rid of Baylor. And then maybe the matchup of the tournament might be Oklahoma and West Virginia. I'm going to take Oklahoma. I'm actually going to take Oklahoma to win the whole thing. I think Okie State will bow out to Kansas State. I think Kansas State just is a tough matchup for Oklahoma State. The things they like to do running with Marcus Smart, I think Kansas State really takes that away. I mean, it's a tough one to go either way. Okie State travels real well. I wouldn't be shocked if they even ended up winning this whole tournament. I'm going to take Kansas State. They're going to end up battling against Oklahoma, and I'm going to take the Sooners to Boomer Sooner. I think they're going to win the whole thing. March into the tournament. They're a team that's going to vie for a 1 seed, but I think they'll end up as a 2 on that 2 line when the NCAA tournament pairings are announced. Now we'll go to what used to be my favorite conference, and maybe again, because even though as mad as I am at the Big East for what's happened to it, I do applaud the fact that they've tried to make it a real basketball league and come down and just really reward the teams that focus on basketball, make it a basketball league in the NCAA. You got teams that, to me, this is going to be a tremendous basketball tournament. I love that they kept it at the Garden. I think that was an absolute necessity. They had to keep this tournament there. They've still got some historic teams. You got and I love that Villanova won this league this year. They're the number 1 seed. Obviously, there's a lot of problems with the league in general. I mean, you got your number 2 seed, and they're an excellent team, and that's the Creighton Blue Jays. But Creighton is in Omaha. Omaha as in Nebraska, as in like the song Middle America. Nowhere near the East in any way, shape, or form. They do not belong in the Big East Conference. Again, there's nothing I can do about that. Butler, another team, they're from Indiana. We were able to kind of digest Notre Dame being in there for a while, I guess, which wasn't any better. These teams are Marquette, from Milwaukee. Again, not the East. But as far as the basketball goes, though, excellent stuff you should see for 4 days here in New York. Seton Hall and Butler are going to play. Again, that's a tremendous matchup right off the bat, and the winner of that just gets the honor of playing top seed Villanova. I'm going to take Butler to win this one. I think they'll be a little excited to be in their inaugural tournament. Seton Hall might just be playing out the string. And Seton Hall just doesn't ever seem to do well in this Big East tournament. I mean, not for a long time have they really ever performed well. I think Villanova plays Butler, and it'll take some. They'll get a scare, but I think they'll pull through. They're a team that can really do some damage when the NCAA tournament comes around. They're very, very solid all the way around, this Villanova team. Then you got the real kind of the slobber knocker of this whole thing. You got 2 bubble teams, 2 teams that have to win this game. It's going to be at the Garden. You're going to have Providence and St. John's, 2 old Big East teams, 2 real Big East teams that have been through the whole thing. And I'm going to take the Johnnies here at the Garden. Providence probably out of the teams, as both are desperate, but I think the Johnnies are more so. Their resume is a little bit less impressive than Providence's, but both teams really could use the win. But I'm going to take the Johnnies here to get through to play Villanova, which will talk about a great Friday night atmosphere. You get your 2 semifinals at the Garden, and you start with Villanova and St. John's at the Garden. Man, I'm excited about that one just thinking about it. Let's go to the bottom half of the bracket and look at, as aforementioned, Creighton is the 2 seed. They're going to play in the late game against the Georgetown DePaul winner, and that's going to be Georgetown. I mean, DePaul is terrible. Georgetown is a bubble team that probably should be better than their 17-13 record. They've had some great wins this year. They beat Michigan State, among others. I think they're actually going to take Creighton down here. They're going to have a lot of support in that building. They always travel well to the Garden. Their fan base does. And Creighton has a frenzied fan base, but they're in Omaha. You're not going to get everybody from Omaha to spend the weekend in the Garden. They'll have a nice section, I'm sure, but I think Georgetown will do a better job of drowning them out, especially if they're winning, which I expect them to do. McDermott actually, obviously is player of the year material, just a tremendous player. He's going to have to be stopped for them to bounce Creighton, but I think Georgetown can get the team effort, and John Thompson III can figure out a way to get it done and to march on to the semifinals, and that'd be another original real Big East team in the semifinals, kind of what I'm hoping for. Then you're going to have Xavier and Marquette. Xavier's a team that's sitting on the bubble. They're going to need to win. Marquette, I'd be tempted to take them. They just haven't shown much life, though, over the past month or so. And I think Xavier just is a little hungry. I'm going to pick Xavier to march on. Again, another team excited about their first foray into the Big East tournament, and I think that could really help them out. And I like Xavier and Georgetown in the semifinal. On the bottom half in the late one. So we'll go back. We'll break down the semifinals. I'm going to take Villanova to move on past St. John's. I think that'll be just a classic game. But Villanova's a better team, and I think that'll outweigh the home advantage. And Villanova brings plenty of people up from Philly, too. It's not like they're not going to be heard from there. The number one seed, I think, marches on there. In the bottom half, I'm going to take Georgetown in an upset, again, over Xavier. I think Georgetown just catching fire at the right time, and I think you got an unbelievable classic Georgetown-Villanova matchup. I just think this year is Villanova's year. I think they're going to get crowned a champ. I think Georgetown will obviously show up, play a great game. I think the place will be in an uproar. It'll be real exciting. But give me Villanova in that one. Let's move on to the Big Ten tournament. Kind of one of those conferences you kind of know who's in. You got, to me, the top 6 seeds are all in easily, and that's Michigan as the 1 seed. Wisconsin is the 2, Michigan State is the 3, Nebraska is a 4, although some people have them as a bubble team. I think them beating Wisconsin at home this past weekend kind of put them over the top. Ohio State is a 5, Iowa is a 6. I mean, basically all these teams are either ranked in the top 25 or just on the outside of that. And then you got Minnesota as a 7 seed. They're really the true bubble team of the group. I think they might have to get a win or two in this to get in, especially on the safe side. They want to be safe, they better win twice at least. Top seed Michigan, I think they're going to end up with Indiana again. I think Indiana's going to beat Illinois in the 8-9 game. And hey, this tournament's in Indianapolis, so give me an upset city and take Indiana to beat Michigan in the quarterfinals. They're going to play at like high noon on Friday. Tough to get going as a top seed. You get a little stale. Indiana would have just played the night before at Conseco Fieldhouse. Give me big time. Give me Indiana and an upset. They've already beaten Michigan once this year. Nebraska's going to end up with Ohio State, who's going to beat a lousy Purdue team, and I think Ohio State's also going to beat Nebraska. So give me Ohio State versus Indiana in one semifinal. Down at the bottom half of the bracket, I think Minnesota will beat Penn State, but not Wisconsin. Iowa will take care of Northwestern, but not Michigan State. I think chalk goes at the bottom of the bracket there. I like Michigan State versus Wisconsin in the semi. Indiana, Ohio State. I think Indiana, even though they have to win this tournament, I think to get in, I'll take them one more time over Ohio State. My brain kind of leans towards Ohio State. My gut's going to say Indiana wins the first semifinal there, and I think Michigan State pulls a mild, I won't call it a mild upset, but it would be the 3 beating the 2 and beating Wisconsin. I think Michigan State's a team you got to really look for when the big dance comes around. And even though I'm not high normally on Wisconsin, I think this could be a year they do some good damage in the tournament as well. They're always, they're kind of a perennial Sweet 16 team, but I think they could go a little further. Some good teams in the Big Ten, and I'm usually critical. I don't normally think of it as a very good basketball conference, but this year they have some quality clubs. To get 6 or 7 teams out of their 12, and again, yeah, they are 12 teams in the Big Ten vying for this conference tournament, as strange as that may seem, with 10 teams in the Big 12. And 12 teams in the Big Ten. Anyway, give me Indiana against Michigan State, and finally Cinderella slipper will fall off, and Michigan State will win this tournament as the 3 seed. And Coach Izzo, with it's tough to bet against the Tom Izzo team, especially when he's got a little bit of talent. This one coming up in Vegas. This is not really a major conference, but I like to talk about it because to me it's some great basketball out there. That's the Mountain West, and that's out in Vegas. And I think the top seed San Diego State will easily get by. I actually like Colorado State to beat Utah State in the 8-9 game. They're the 9 seed. I think they'll get by Colorado State, although Colorado State can pose matchup problems because they play an interesting style, but I think San Diego State's athleticism will be too much and they'll advance. UNLV, I like them at home over Wyoming because they're playing this in front of the friendly faithful at the Thomas and Mack Center. So give me UNLV against San Diego State, and that'll be a great semifinal in the top half of the bracket. In the bottom half of the bracket, to me, it's clearly New Mexico. They'll play probably Fresno State, who should beat Air Force in the 7-10 matchup. You got Boise State and San Jose State playing for the right to meet Nevada. I think Nevada will get through there. They should have some nice support coming down from Reno for this game, too. I think New Mexico, though, will be too much for Nevada in the second semifinal. And the first semifinal, I think San Diego State will outlast the home faithful of UNLV. But I like New Mexico as the 2 seed. I think they're going to take out number 1 San Diego State. But both teams pose certainly matchup problems for everybody when they hit the NCAA tournament. But to me, if you want a little sneaky pick there for Final Four, maybe New Mexico, it might be their year. Keep that team on you when you're filling out your office pools and your brackets. All right, we'll go to the Pac-12. This one moved to Vegas from the Staples Center in Los Angeles. Not a big fan of that move. I liked it being there, but again, you can't fault the tournament for going to Vegas. It's a great place to host any kind of event. Top seed Arizona. It's really their tournament to lose. I think if you want a sleeper team, though, it might be the 5 seed Colorado. They're going to get by USC easily. I believe they'll play for the 4 seed Cali, and those two bubble teams will go at it with the winner, I think, easily being in the tournament, and the loser probably still getting in, but they'll have to sweat it out. I'm going to take Colorado in that one to play Arizona, and I think they're going to give them a heck of a matchup. I'm very tempted to take Colorado to win that game, but I'll take Arizona, and I think they'll end up winning the whole thing. Another dangerous team potentially could be 7-seeded Oregon. I think they'll get by the Beavers of Oregon State on Civil War rivalry renewed. I don't think Oregon State has enough to hang with the hated Ducks of Oregon. I think Oregon gets through, plays UCLA, and I'm going to take them in an upset in a 7-2. And I just don't think that UCLA to me is not playing great right now, and they might not have a lot to play for. Seeding obviously will get affected one way or the other. May have been a little different at the Staples Center, to be quite honest. Down in the bottom of the bracket, you got Arizona State as the 3 seed, a team that probably needs to win a game to ensure themselves getting in. Against another team, I think they're going to end up with Stanford, who should beat Washington State. But it could come down to Stanford and Arizona State really kind of playing for a spot in a 3-6 game. And I'm actually going to take Stanford in a little bit of an upset in that one. And I think Oregon's going to beat Stanford. They'll be that team that kind of makes a run to the final. I think they still, though, have to win the tournament to get in. And I think Arizona will get revenge from the beating they took. Not beating, but it was a very close game, but the loss that they suffered this past weekend at Eugene when they lost to the Ducks, and I like Arizona to win that tournament. I know it's another number 1 seed winning it, but there's quite a few picks that I've made that aren't the number 1 seed. Give me Arizona in that one, but certainly Colorado and Oregon are a couple sleepers. Okay, last one we're going to do here, major conference tournaments, the SEC, and again, this is a football league. Let's not kid anybody or ourselves. At least geographically, this league makes some sense to me, but it's just an enormous league. You got 14 teams wedged in this tournament. This tournament's going to be played at the Georgia Dome, which I think could factor in a little bit because you got the 3 seed down at the bottom of the bracket in Georgia, and they could maybe make some noise. But we'll go start from the top seed Florida. To me, they're the best team in the country right now. That doesn't mean I think they're going to win the NCAA tournament, but I do think they're going to win this tournament. And I think they're going to get Missouri, who's going to win that 8-9 game with Texas A&M. I think they'll get rid of Missouri, who at one time was looking like they'd probably be in the tournament. Now are looking like they're going to be in the NIT. Interesting matchup after Auburn and South Carolina. 2 awful teams play. The winner's going to play Arkansas. I like Arkansas in that one. That's going to set up Arkansas, Tennessee in a 4-5 game. Both teams sitting on the bubble. Tennessee to me is in a little bit safer of a spot. Needs the game maybe a tinge less than Arkansas does, but both teams want to win this in a big way. Give me Arkansas and a mild upset there to go to play Florida in this first semi. Down at the bottom, I mean, nobody beats Kentucky in this tournament, really. Kentucky's I like Alabama to pull a little upset in a 10 over a 7 over LSU, who just never does well in this tournament. Bama a little bit better in the past, and to me that means something, the pedigree of these teams. But I think they have no real shot at beating Kentucky. Kentucky's going to get through. And like I said, after Vandy and Mississippi State play, give me Vandy, I guess, 11 over 14. But I think Ole Miss will take care of them and play Georgia in a 3-6. And I like Georgia at the Georgia Dome to advance to play Kentucky. I think that'll be a great semifinal. It won't seem like a road game for Kentucky. If anything, they'll have more fans at the Georgia Dome than the Bulldogs, so it should be a great atmosphere. 2 good semifinals. Give me Florida over Arkansas, Kentucky over Georgia, and then Florida, they just did it. It's tough to beat a team again so close after you just won. And Kentucky, just because I think Florida's going to do so well in the NCAA, give me Kentucky in a little bit of an upset. I was right up until about 15 minutes ago, I was going to take Florida to win this tournament. And I even said it coming in, but man, I'm waffling. I'm going back and forth on this. Give me Kentucky. I don't know. I think Florida's a better team, and I think Florida's a more dangerous team when it comes to the NCAA tournament. I actually think Florida could be cutting the nets down at the house that Jerry built when it's all said and done. But give me Kentucky on this day. I think they'll find a way to pull it off and win this tournament. It just seems like it's the Kentucky Invitational. That's a wrap on the big conference breakdowns and to get you ready for this weekend. Again, try to mention all the teams that are on the bubble. There's some mid-major teams that probably have to win their conference tournaments to get in, but are of note, like Louisiana Tech. I think Southern Miss is another team that's got a real good shot at getting in, but both of those teams have to, at the minimum, and they're both in the same conference, and that's Conference USA. They got to get to the finals at minimum and probably have to be one and done in that conference. So, we're going to go to break here on All Noise Radio, and when we come back on the Zuki and Ruggs Show, we're going to visit with our mystery guest and have our interview via the All Noise Radio hotline. So, see you on the other side of this break on All Noise Radio.
Shook up ramen?
Yeah, soup.
Freeze. A call to the library could help her out. Good thing T-Mobile lets her call whenever she wants. Go.
Says here, pour some sugar on me. I'm hot, sticky, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
The most whenever minutes, free long distance and roaming. Only from T-Mobile.
Get more.
Do you lack confidence and assertiveness?
Can you open my milk, Mommy?
Do people have a difficult time determining your gender? Do you take constant verbal abuse from strangers?
They're just a bunch of pansies.
Well, you're a man. Time to start acting like one. Try our brand new product, Man in a Can. This barely legal concoction comes in several invigorating flavors, such as aftershave, motor oil, and beer.
Stings the nostrils in a good way.
This stuff will make you a damn sexual tyrannosaurus.
Time to man up. Get Man in a Can today.
Everybody hates car accidents, especially from bad brake pads. So choose Callahan brake pads. They're durable, dependable, and come with an outstanding sales and customer service. Tommy Callahan says,
our new brake pads are really cool.
But if you do think that other brake pads are just as good, just ask our associate what happens when you choose the other guy's brake pads.
You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy. Not now. Truck tire. I can't stop. Help!
Don't set your family on fire. Choose Callahan brake pads.
This is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and you're listening to the All Noise Radio Network. Now back to my main man, the Zuki and Ruggs Show.
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
I cannot believe this. This is the best news I've had all week.
And I know I can't live without my radio.
I'm sick to death of your mess and your noise.
Battling under the boards, dishing the rock on the Zuki and Ruggs Show.
Back on the Zuki and Ruggs Show with my special mystery guest via the All Noise Radio hotline. Who else did you think I'd have on the show? It's Zuki, the missing member of our show tonight. And unlike Dale Earnhardt Jr., he never runs out of gas. He's going to join us live, and we're going to talk about a couple things, among others, a race he was covering for this program this weekend. He was out in Vegas for the NASCAR race. And he's also covering for us the West Coast Conference Tournament, which is being held in Vegas, and he'll help me preview the Pac-12 tournament as well, which will also be in Vegas coming up this weekend. Zook, how you doing out there, buddy? You staying warm?
Viva Las Vegas. Bro, I've got sunburn, bro. That sounds foreign to all of you people on the East Coast there, but don't worry if you're a little jealous and envious of me being out in Las Vegas and catching some rays and getting sunburn and, enjoying 75-degree weather. I'm coming back on Wednesday and coming back into a snowstorm. So back to reality for me on Wednesday. Big
time. The fans of this page just dipped in half, at least the Northeast, with the way you're bragging about the weather out there. But so, Zook, you witnessed it live, the exciting finish of that NASCAR race. Tell us all about what it was like to be there in that sea of humanity.
It was awesome, man. No doubt about it. It was a great time. Weather was great. It was a great race. Unfortunately for Earnhardt Jr., looked like he was on the fast track, no pun intended, to the victory lane for the second time in 3 races. But unfortunately for him, he ran out of gas in the last lap. We heard he was close. He played the fuel strategy. He stayed out on the last pit stop there, and it was worth a shot.
Yeah, it was a calculated risk.
Right, it's worth the risk. He's already got a victory, and so he's already locked into the chase. And with with the new rules, once you get a win, you're already in the chase. So it was a worthy shot. He's in Vegas, and
Right, he was gambling.
How ironic that he gambles and he loses. Kind of like that pretty much summarizes my tenure here at Vegas thus far.
Uh-oh, we won't ask.
But hey, he had the funny thing about that race was it seemed like everybody that was out in front, when they got that clean air, they were gone. You weren't catching them. Joey Logano at the beginning of the race was, he started on the pole, and boy, he was out in front. He looked unbeatable. But then when the cautions came out and he got caught in traffic, he wasn't able to get by cars. Then, Jimmy Johnson for a while dominated the race. Kyle Busch for a while there dominated the race. So on and so forth. A lot of guys were really out in front, looked like they were going to win. And same thing when Dale Jr. stayed out there and, decided not to pit and he caught clean air, he was gone. But, unfortunately, he ran out of gas and Keselowski was able to get by him and earned the victory, and he's locked into the chase.
Yeah, absolutely. It really was an exciting finish.
Oh, yeah. That's all you can ask for when you go to a NASCAR event, Comes down to the last lap, so.
Oh, absolutely.
You can hear a pin drop from those junior fans. They went from, being top of the world to being really, that was a kick to the gut for them.
It was very noticeable on TV how the level dropped, and then it kind of kicked back in when Keselowski came around with the flag. It seemed like the crowd kind of amped back up. The people who were not the non-junior fans in the crowd did get loud and make some noise. But yeah, there was like an air, almost like an air rushing out of the place when that happened.
Yeah, very disheartening. Very disheartening.
Zook, did you know what was going on when it happened, or did you just think something weird had happened? Because I had not watched the race up until the last few laps after I had talked to you on your trip to the concession stand. My sons and I tuned in for the last few laps, so we didn't know what was kind of transpiring, and we were wondering all of a sudden what had happened. And then the commentators came right on and explained it. But did you know at the time, or were you kind of shocked like I was?
No, we kind of had a good idea of what was going on because he was one of the only guys that didn't pit there on the last stop. And, then we heard over the loudspeakers, the play-by-play announcer came over to PA and he's like, well, we just spoke to Steve Letarte and he says that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is okay with gas, but, and then when that happened on the last lap, when he slowed down, I mean, you could see it, he substantially slowed. You kind of figured he was out of gas,
Yeah.
Because you didn't see any smoke, so he didn't blow up. So, yeah, you kind of figured. Everyone kind of knew he was out of gas.
They said in the post-race press conference that if he had 16 ounces of fuel more, it would have been enough to finish. That's just unbelievable when you think about it.
That's NASCAR for you. People don't realize. People just think it's a meat-headed sport where it's okay, we just get in our car, we drive fast, we go around a circle and go. No, man. You got guys that are measuring, fuel. And they're able, with computer software, they're able to determine how much fuel you have left, if you're going to make it or not. It's really amazing. Man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So no, it's crazy, man. All he needed was a bottle of Coke, more of fuel, and he would have won the race.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's what it comes down to.
It is. It's unbelievable. So that was a great race there. Now you got also coming up tonight, you got the semifinals of the West Coast Conference Tournament. Always an exciting tournament. Those teams, when they get into the tournament, usually perform pretty well for a mid-major league. You got top-seeded Gonzaga playing St. Mary's, who's the 4 seed, and second-seeded BYU and the Dons of San Francisco, the number 3 seed, alma mater of Bill Russell. A lot of people don't know that. What do you think? He's a little before a lot of fans' time, but always their claim to fame is that they had Bill Russell go to their school.
That's right.
What do you think about those two semifinals tonight in Sin City?
I like Gonzaga to win. I mean, right now the line's they're favored by 3.5. The latest line here I'm looking at right now. But I like Gonzaga to win the game. They look like the better team. And in terms of the San Fran BYU game, BYU's favored by 3. It's kind of a toss-up game, man. I lean towards BYU, but that's kind of a toss. I think it's going to be between the two games. I like that game. I think it's a more intriguing game, Bruggs. Those are your lines right now. What do you think, Bruggs? What are you thinking?
Yeah, well,
if you were here and you were a bad man, where would you put your money, handsome?
It'd be tough. I mean, I'm going to take Gonzaga as well. I think they're going to win the tournament. But, I think St. Mary's, the reason why that line's so close is it's kind of a rivalry. It's been the last few years those teams have battled for that title. But I think St. Mary's is a little bit down from what they've been the last couple years. Yeah, maybe Gonzaga is as well. But I still like their the guard play they have. I like their coaching advantage. They've been there before, done that. I'm going to take them in a close one. I think they'll just go a little bit over that line of 3.5. In the nightcap, I believe it's the nightcap. I believe the Gonzaga game's first. I could be mistaken about that, but either way.
No. San Fran BYU is the later game.
Is the later game. Okay. Yeah, that the nightcap there. BYU is right on the bubble. A lot of people think they need to win this tournament, certainly need to win tonight, so that gives them the edge with desperation. But if you look at RPI and last 12 games played and some of the wins they've had, USF is one of the hotter teams going, that nobody knows about. And, man, they're playing real well. I might take them in an upset if I had to. I think BYU might be a little tight. They're not a great conference tournament team. They tend to have great regular seasons and then in the postseason not perform quite as well. So I'm going to lean, and this is a new conference for them. They're out of the Mountain West, which is what they're familiar with. The tournament still was in Vegas there too, but I'm going to take San Francisco in an upset, and I think they'll give Gonzaga all they can handle, but I think Gonzaga will prevail.
Okay, nice, man. Okay. Well said, man. I'm going to put some money on San Fran right now, as a matter of fact.
Beautiful.
Nice,
and then we got Vegas is just absolutely hopping place. You got two tournaments coming up at the end of the week.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll break down a little bit more later on with you the Pac-12 tournament, but real quick, you got the Mountain West, which it's kind of a weird year in the Mountain West. It's a very good conference that a lot of people sleep on a little bit, but this year it looks like they got two locked teams that are top 25 legitimate teams, really probably higher than that, more like top 15 teams in San Diego State and New Mexico, and really nobody else can get in unless they win the tournament. It's a little weird. Usually there's 4 or 5 teams kind of vying. There's some at-large possibilities, bubble teams. I don't see it this year. The conference as a whole is down, but it's very top-heavy. You got two real good teams. What are your impressions of those of that tournament?
I'm with you on that. I agree with what you're saying. I don't have the odds in front of me right now, to be honest with you. I kind of agree with you on that, Ruggs. I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah, my gut feeling is New Mexico's they're the 2 seed. I like them to win it, even though San Diego State is the top seed. They if you watch this tournament, other than obviously UNLV, which packs the place, and they're the one team I think that can win it besides the two obvious teams. I think the only other team that has a chance is UNLV because they could ride the momentum of the home court because they play right there at the Thomas and Mack Center, but where the tournament is played.
Drove by there a couple times.
Yeah. I kind of think New Mexico, though, the way they just bring a ton of people, other than UNLV, they're the only real crowd presence you have there. They make it real loud. They have a real good traveling crowd. They always seem to do pretty well in this tournament. I'm going to take the Lobos in a little bit of an upset. I don't know if it's a huge upset, and they're well coached. You got to love the job that Alford's done there in his tenure, and they have some just real nasty guards. I like the way they defend and shoot the outside shot, and I think that can get hot in a tournament.
Just pull up some lines right now. In order to, in terms of winning the whole thing here in Arlington, in terms of winning the entire tournament, we got San Diego State 30-1 to win the whole thing, and you got where are we, baby? I was just looking at
yeah.
There they are. New Mexico's 125-1.
Yeah.
As of right now. So if you're looking there, I mean, San Diego State is, obviously the heavier favorite. But we'll see, man. I mean, San Diego's not too far away from Las Vegas as well. So
yeah, it's
very some strong fan support as well. I'm sure they'll travel okay, so it won't be too big of a disadvantage. But
well, they're coached by Steve Fisher, who's got excellent coach, got a national championship under his belt. They're a very athletic team. They're different than New Mexico that relies on running sets, shooting the 3-ball, hitting free throws, playing defense. San Diego State is just, they play above the rim. It's it's an interesting matchup when the teams get together. It kind of depends on which style is going to prevail.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you really can't look at lines when it comes to those games. Those games are measured by heart for the most part. And when teams talent plays the best in that particular day. We're also looking at AC State, Arizona State as well.
Oh yeah, no, we'll jump. Yeah, we'll jump real quick. I'm glad you said that. We're going to jump to the Pac-12 tournament, which is also being held. I was a little surprised when they made this move to take it out of Staples Center. I kind of liked it there. I thought it made sense to have it there and give the kids, an NBA home court to play their tournament in. But for whatever reason, they moved it to Vegas. Hey, if you're going to move it anywhere, that's not a bad place to go. You got the top seed Arizona is obviously an overwhelming favorite to win this thing. They're one of the odds-on national title favorites, in the top couple anyway.
One right now to win the whole thing.
Yeah, so that's
6-1 Arizona win the whole thing. Yeah,
that's just saying, it says volumes right there.
It's their tournament to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely the heavily. And right now, they're 5-6 to win the Pac-12 tournament. So yeah, it's their tournament.
So. Obviously, I'm going to take them as well. I'll get your opinion in a second here, but I'll just break it down real quick. Arizona, I mean, they should have no problem with the winner of Utah and Washington to get to the semifinal. Then it'll be interesting because you should have Cal and Colorado, who are two bubble teams. It should be a 4-5 matchup. Colorado has to get rid of USC first to get there. Two teams that really need the game to make sure that they're into the big dance. The winner of that game is going to present a lot of problems, I think, for Arizona and give them their best, maybe their toughest challenge of the whole tournament might be that semifinal game. Down at the bottom of the bracket, UCLA and Arizona State are the 2 and 3 seeds. They should march on, but I could see UCLA stumbling. Oregon State winner's going to get them. Oregon's playing well lately. They just knocked Arizona off on Saturday at home, so they're a tough out for UCLA. Arizona State's a bubble team as the 3 seed, and then Stanford is the 6. They should get rid of Washington State and play there. There's another 2 bubble teams going at it. Stanford really has to kind of get maybe even to the championship to get in. Everybody's got their own opinion, though. Some people think that they don't. They just have to win that quarterfinal game. It's crazy. I'm not going to get into all the RPI numbers and all that stuff right now, but basically it's Arizona's tournament to lose. What's your take on that?
I agree, Rugg. Yeah, it's Arizona's tournament to lose. I could see Colorado giving them a little. I think it's the one team that's a dark horse to win the tournament. I'm with you. I think it's Colorado. I do like the way Oregon's playing right now as well, but it's probably a dark horse to do it, man. AC State right now is 8-1 odds, along with Colorado as well, 8-1. Pretty good odds there, but yeah, man, I agree. I think it's Arizona's tournament to win here. They got to win this thing, but you never know. We've seen in the past these heavily favored teams that lose these tournaments. Sometimes they're not as hungry to win the Pac-12 tournament.
I agree with you totally.
Whereas a hot bubble team can get in there and, they're hungrier, they're more desperate, and we've seen that in recent history. I mean, throughout history anyway. We've seen, hungry teams that really need to win the tournament beat the heavily favored team.
Yeah.
And the heavily favored team often shrugs their shoulders, says, whatever, we're still going to be a 1 seed, and we're going to, we're playing for the national title. So
agreed, and I think in that Pac-12 tournament, especially the top seeds, if you go back, I mean, they haven't won that tournament very often. So definitely wide open for potential upset or two here in this one.
Yeah, anyone that's shock me in the least if a team like, say, Arizona State or even the Colorado did knock off BC. I really wouldn't be surprised. I'm not expecting it, but it would shock me. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, bro, I'll let you get back to the one-armed bandits and the all-you-can-eat buffets, which I hope you're taking full advantage of down there in that warm weather. Enjoy it while you got it, because you got to come back to reality soon. Wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad here today. You know, may have cracked 40 for a little while, but it's not gonna. It's gonna be noticeably different than what you're experiencing right now, my friend.
Yeah, it was sunny, not a cloud in the sky, and about 73 today over here. Yeah,
Well,
I'm enjoying it while it lasts, but it ain't gonna last too much longer. So.
Great job as always out on the road doing what you can for our fan base.
I tried, my brother. Thank you for calling and including me in, man. I'm happy about that. You know, hopefully I gave you guys some information. Hopefully I was a help. I wasn't as prepared as I'd like to be, but that's life.
Well, that's what fun in the sun will do to you. But, you know, I missed you. I got to admit, it was tough to do a whole segment without you, so I had to bring you in for you're like my whoopee, you know. I got to bring you in for security blanket for my second segment here.
I appreciate it, Ruggs. It's my pleasure, man. I enjoyed doing it, man. I enjoyed working with you, man. So, yeah, it was my pleasure, brother.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you. Take care.
You got it, Ruggs, man. Take care, everybody.
Enjoy.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Bye. So, and you thought we wouldn't talk to Zuki today. How about that? We got a little on-location interview with him out from Vegas, so it was good to talk to Zuki as always. We'll see him back here. We'll hear from him in the flesh next week on our show, and we'll set up for the big dance. We'll get real serious. We'll have the brackets out by then, and we'll help you fill them out. But that's all the time we have for tonight's show. Thanks for listening, and again, keep checking us out on YouTube, obviously on All Noise Radio. We're going to air this at our regular time, 12 to 1 on Friday, but we wanted to get in touch with the tournaments before they happen. We figured a little bit more useful information, and a chance to get Zuki out there on the West Coast, keeping us in touch with what's going on down there. So, again, pleasure bringing this show to you guys every week. And like our Facebook page and go on and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you would, that'd be great. We love to hear from you, and we'll certainly leave some comments, please. Zuki and myself love to hear the comments from you, and we try to respond and get some dialogue going on these sports issues that we talk about each week, because we really do take a big interest in the world of sports and what you think about them, because that matters to us a lot, and fans of this show, you know, we really care about your opinion. So keep commenting and liking our page and listening to our show, and we'll see you next week on All Noise Radio from the live, signing out from the Zuki and Ruggs Show. This is Ruggs, and from my partner Zuki, we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
If you have just one little dog, all you need when you go for a walk is a little plastic bag to clean up the, well, you know what.
But what if you have a big dog who likes to have the run of your property?
And what if there's lots of dogs? Then the you-know-what can really get out of hand.
Call Doggy Do Not, the professional pooper scooper service that finds, scoops, and hauls away poop so you don't have to.
Doggy Do Not, perfect for kennels, parks, office grounds, apartment complexes, your yard, or any place that needs scooping.
Doggy Do Not can scoop as often as you need them. Daily, weekly, monthly, or even just once. Like before you host that big event.
Doggy Do Not, when just a little plastic bag is not enough.
Look online at doggydonot.com and call for a free estimate at 203-323-2284.
Doggy Do Not in Stanford, serving Fairfield and Westchester counties 12 months a year.
Call 203-323-2284.
Do you lack
imagination?
When you're thinking of ideas, do you always say, "No"? Do you wish you could be creative and have endless imagination? Then go to your local retail outlet and buy Create-A-Pack. It's the size of a cell phone, but yet as smart as Einstein, Hawking, mixed with Pablo Picasso and Lady Gaga's stylist.
Wow, 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 wow!
Become a dreamer today. Warning, do not use if you have heart problems, because it works so good, you will have a heart attack.
Go to allnoiseradio.com. Click for A&R Sports. Listen to the Zuki and Ruggs Show every Friday from 12 to 1. Powered by Live365.com. All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.
So you say you're going to do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. Hold on. Stop this. So you can't control that smelly breath, right?
Oh,
And you can't hold a conversation for more than 5 seconds, right?
yeah, pretty much.
So what are you waiting for? Try our all-new Swagalicious Breath Mints. Guaranteed to hold you a conversation more than 5 minutes, not 5 seconds. I promise you there's no better remedy.
Can't promise you the ladies, but see stores for details.
Face it, you don't have the highest of morals, and that doesn't seem to bother you. When you are looking for a partner, you'd rather have one that's already broken in for you. Admit it.
Holla.
We at OPB are here to help.
OPB, Other People's Booty.
We'll hook you up on the down low so you can avoid all the unpleasantness that a full body cast can provide. You have always enjoyed taking what doesn't belong to you.
When you want a woman, you just take it.
And as we always say, why buy the cow when you can get the milk at OPB?
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
No, Kelly Clarkson!
Our music is